Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I'll introduce myself first. I'm Sumudu. And whenever I'm introducing myself to another person, the first thing that comes to my mind these days is that I am a newcomer to Canada. So I moved from Sri Lanka recently. And prior moving to Canada, I was attached to the higher education sector in Sri Lanka. I used to work as a lecturer in a university. And luckily, when I moved here, I was able to find a job in my field as an instructor in a reputed college in Vancouver. So I'm currently teaching digital marketing to students to a career college, as well as I'm teaching other management related modules to some other colleges in Canada as well. So that basically is my background. And like I mentioned earlier, thank you very much for being here on a rainy Thursday night. So today, I'm going to take you through a very interesting topic, which is about the Tuckman's group development model. Well, if you're confused, Tuckman is the person who had introduced this group development model, and that's why this is called in such a way. So the learning outcome of my lesson would be at the end of today's session, this very short session, and after glancing through my presentation in the recording panel, you'll be able to define what a group is, and also you will be able to identify the different stages the individuals goes through when a group is developed, and also from an instructor and from a facilitator's point of view, what are the strategies that can be used to overcome the issues that we may come across in each stage. I'm sure this is going to be a very useful topic for most of y'all because we deal with students, and in most of our evaluation methods and in most of the assignments that we give to students, there will be a lot of group work involved. Of course, we are studying about collaborative learning and how to enhance collaborative learning methods in the classroom. So giving priority on students to work on groups is very, very crucial. So today I will be discussing about what type of situations the students, or not necessarily students, I would say the members in a group might go through when they are working together, and what we could do to eliminate the issues that might take place and that might sort of affect or hinder the performance of a group in an overall manner. So first of all, let me define what a group is. I'm sure this might not be a very uncommon or surprising term for y'all. A group, we can, in the simplest possible manner, we can define a group as a combination of two or more people who is interacting with each other and who is interdependent and who have come together to achieve a particular objective. So it can either be a formal group or can be an informal group, regardless of the type. The group norms, the roles, and the identities have a powerful effect on individuals' behavior. So with that point, what I would like to stress out is that this Tuckman's group development model is not necessarily assigned or not necessarily a topic that we discuss under one of the disciplines. This is a very commonly discussed topic in many areas, many disciplines, ranging from organizational behavior, psychology, and also management likewise, because ultimately in all those contexts, understanding how people behave and how they react to different situations is very crucial. So even if you're working at a workplace, it might be a college, it might be university, or it might be some other work setup as well, but there also you will be coming across people, and you will, at a point of your time, at a point of your task, you will become a member of a group. So I'm sure most of the things that I'm going to discuss in my presentation will be very much relevant for you all. And that's the reason why I stressed out at the beginning that this is a topic which is equally important to all of us. So having been said that, let us first discuss why people actually is willing to be a part of a group. Well, it's very obvious that when you're alone, sometimes you feel like you're cornered or you're isolated. You want to feel secure, and that's one major reason why you would be willing to become a member in a group. The other one, which is very similar to the feeling of security, you can build out links. So that improves the affiliation among one another, which is another major reason why people are willing to be in a group. On the other hand, it does have an impact on your self-esteem. It makes you feel good. And a very important point which we cannot underestimate is the power that you get to experience when you're working with others. So you might be having a personality which makes you stand out as a leader. So with that quality of yours, you feel like you're naturally drawn towards working with people. You have that capacity to lead people, you have that capacity to guide or motivate people, and you would love to sort of exercise that in a group setup. And that's another major reason why people are willing to be in a group. On the other hand, goal achievement could be another reason why mainly people are required to work in groups. So I use the term people up to this point. With this reason of goal achievement, I would like to mainly stress out the point that this is the main reason why most of the students are required to work in groups. We as facilitators, we tend to give them assessments that require them to work as a group. In order to promote collaborative learning, group-based assessments are one of the major techniques that we can use. Of course, it might vary depending on the context, but one major reason why we would want our students to collaboratively get together and work as a group is because we are giving them a goal to be achieved in the form of an assessment. So that again sums up the reasons as to why people are required to work in groups. Then let's take a look at the group development model as explained by Tuckman. So there are 5 stages, ranging from forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. So these are the 5 stages every group will go through, regardless of the context they are in and regardless of the task that they have been assigned with. But one important point that I would like to stress out is that we as facilitators sometimes teach a class who is meeting each other for the first time. Sometimes we might be teaching a class who has been with each other for a longer period of time. Then, of course, what happens in each stage would vary. But given the fact that they are working with a set of individuals for the first time, or maybe for the second times, the concerns and the major characteristics of each stage would remain the same. So let's have a quick glance through on each of the stages and what happens in each stage and what are the issues that is likely to take place and what we can do in order to address them. The first stage is the forming stage. This is that stage where you meet your members for the first time. You have been assigned a task. You are coming together for the first time, or maybe you're not coming together for the first time, but the task is new. So herewith, you will not actually see the real person. If you're meeting, like if the team members are meeting each other for the very first time, it's very obvious that one might not reveal the true identity to the others. But if you're meeting them not maybe for the first time, then it could be a different story. But mostly at this stage, you're not willing to open up. Your feelings and weaknesses are covered. And you tend to act in a very formal manner. You try to imply to others that we are together because we are supposed to work together. As simple as that. Well, on the other hand, not all the members might be having a shared understanding of the task. They know that they're supposed to do something, but they might not be clear of what they're supposed to do and why they're supposed to work as a group. And not to forget, a very important characteristic that you will see in this stage is that people are insensitive to others' views. They may be having prejudgment about others. So they come into that group setup with those judgments. So as a result, what you may get to see at this stage is that a senior or an experienced person might take control over the others. And also the members might confine themselves to specific tasks. So people might, or the students might just be concerned about what they are supposed to do individually. They're not very much concerned about what they should achieve as a group, but rather they might be concerned about what they have to achieve as an individual. So these are the most apparent issues that you will get to see in the forming stage. And in order to address them, I would suggest that from a facilitator's point of view, you have to stress out the point that team members has to understand their task and their roles and the responsibilities very clearly. And also, it's important to set a norm as to how team members will work together. Who will be doing joint task, or and who will be working individually, and how the relationship among each person task would contribute towards the group outcome. These things have to be explained properly. And also, rather than just going ahead and doing the task, it is within this stage that you should try to get to know each other. So initially, what I would suggest, like as an instructor, when you are giving students a group activity and when you have assigned them into groups, rather than motivating them to do the task directly, it's better to start off with an icebreaker activity, which will allow them to bond with each other, which is very crucial. The next stage is the storming stage. This is where people start talking to each other and they get sort of involved in the whole accomplishment, or they start executing the activities. Personal issues become very much apparent and you're very likely to uh, show concern for others' opinions. Could be in a negative way or could be in a positive way. And sometimes, like, you know that what you're doing is not right, or maybe you realize that what your friend is saying is not appropriate, but you're not willing to sort of confrontation, like you're not trying to build a confrontation among the members. You're not trying to confront them. You're like, it's okay, I don't care. You come into that stage in storming. And a level of dissatisfaction might be experienced. Sometimes you feel it because you feel like you're not being valued. Sometimes you don't like the way the other people are working, so you feel dissatisfied of that. As simple as such. And at this stage, the major issue is that the team might be too disjoint to reach the other stage, the next stage. People are like members are concerned with their own goals. They are more concerned about finishing off their task rather than focusing on finishing the task as a group. So they might just be acting out the roles with no real involvement. They're doing it for the sake of doing it. So there you will see some conflicts, disagreements, and resistance as well. Some members who are more dominant than others or who are more talkative than others might take the charge, and they might directly get into disagreements with others, and conflicts might also take place depending on the context. So it's very important that you give team members words or tools to bring up what they are feeling or seeing into a shared space. Conflicts are very natural, regardless of it being a classroom or being a business setup. Conflicts takes place. There are certain ideas which might not match with the ideas of other members, which is very obvious and which is very reasonable. So it's where you have to take charge and you have to create an environment where people will try to bring up what they are feeling or seeing into a shared space. If you have a problem, talk to each other. That's what is required to be encouraged. And also, it's very important to teach the students that you have to be transparent and embrace difficult conversations, recognizing that people may have different ideas or views. As an instructor, you can sort of create an atmosphere where students feel like they can come and talk to you when they're experiencing an issue. Sometimes some students might get bullied. In that case, if they are given that assurance of you being a supporter when they want to open up, that would be really, really useful. And also, you should continuously keep stressing the fact to the students that you have to focus on achieving the shared goal, not an individual goal. We have to face the reality and we have to let the students know all the time that it's very common that you will come across conflicts. It's not surprising. It's not only you that who is getting into such type of conversation. It's very common to everyone. But the right thing to do is that confront each other, talk to each other, see what is working and see what might not work. So emphasizing that would be very, very important. The third stage is the norming stage. I would say this is like that stage where you can sort of balance the things that is taking place and sort of plan what you can do. When you reach into this stage, people might get like sort of fed up with the conflicts if they have come across any. Thereby, they know what is wrong with each person and what they are good at and what they are bad at. The confidence and the trust grows. And you get to know, you are like very much familiar with your members' way of working. So you're very clear as to who will work and who might not work. And you know how to get the work done from others. So this is where you can strategically focus on the task you're supposed to do. You have started to value other skills as well. This is where you realize, okay, this is something that this person can handle. This is something that I cannot do, but my friend can do. You start reaching to this stage and you consider other options. You start valuing the opinions of your members, which is very crucial, and you're more focused on the task. So therewith, you try to build an understanding, a level of cooperation and collaboration among your group members. And this is the reason why I've said this is like that balancing stage where you can properly focus on what you can do next. So in order to ensure that this particular stage and the task are managed effectively, as an instructor, we can emphasize problem solving skills and offer space and praise for those who share ideas or suggestions. So as a team leader, like appointing team leaders and like letting them rotate the chance to lead each other would be another good strategy. And also, you should try to encourage students to share ideas and suggestions. You should create a platform where people feel valued, and that's an ideal way to deal with it. The next stage is the performing stage. Well, this is where the actual execution of the task takes place. You will see flexibility and you will see that the members are focused towards the goal accomplishment and a very much involvement can be seen. Just assume it's a group presentation. So it's the day where they're supposed to present. On that day, you will sometimes get to see that one student is trying to cover up for the other student who might not, who was unable to present well. Or maybe when one member forgets to say something, or when one member sort of does not perform in an appropriate manner, the other members try to cover up for them and do the part. Because ultimately, when reaching this stage, they know that they have to somehow accomplish the task, and it's not something that will be judged individually, but as a group. So they're more concerned about attaining the end goal. And everyone seems to be involved. In the absence of the other, the group members can plan how the task could be reallocated among the members. So that's the reason why flexibility can be seen. And ultimate focus is about finishing off and attaining the goal. So it's about reaching productivity and ensuring that you have accomplished the goal. And herewith, sometimes concerns might take place in terms of getting leadership on a group setup. So as a strategy, in order to manage the issues that might take place, it's important to continue to support individual and team improvement. And we have to be on the lookout for conflict and directly discuss the challenges as they arise. Sometimes issues might take place while you're presenting or while you're doing the task. It's very important to address them. It's not a matter of hiding it. If you see that one of your members are not performing well, this is that stage where you can sort of open up and say, look, this is not going to work. We have to do this in this way. And sometimes it's very important that you take a break when you're working together. We have to acknowledge the fact that not all the people work in the same manner. The speed of attempting a task and the way of attempting a task and the style of doing something might vary from one person to the other. So it's very important to pause and provide space to reflect what you have done, evaluate progress, and check it. As a group, sometimes the things that you do individually might not sync with each other. One member's way of presenting and another member's way of presenting might be entirely different from one to the other. But it's a matter of realizing that before the task ends and trying something which could sort of compromise, which would not sort of discourage one person by praising another person, but it's about finding a place in between where both can benefit and the overall team can benefit as a whole. That is what is important. Lastly, it's about a journey. So this is where the temporarily developed groups are wrapped up. So mostly in most of the group activities, it's not a permanent setup which goes throughout, because usually in classrooms we announce it to students that you cannot be in the same group which you have been earlier, because it will not enable them to sort of experience the diversity and all. So this is that stage, the final stage, where the groups which were developed which were working together are wrapping up the activities in terms of goal accomplishments. Like they're almost done with what they were supposed to do, so they are wrapping up the activities. So they are with a very important set of activities is required to be done by the instructor. You should plan a celebration or a closer activity. And you can let the team members to share their thoughts on how well the team did and whether what they did was able to reach out to the expectations or not. And it's very important to provide feedback. Feedback will let you know what worked and what didn't go well. This is very important because you won't repeat the mistakes in the next task, and also you will try to incorporate the good practices that you were able to adopt at this stage. And last but not the least, it's very important that you offer praise and gratitude to those who have performed well. And maybe giving feedback, negative feedback might sometimes work, might not work sometimes. So you have to be very cautious how you're providing feedback. So if it's a group and if you're addressing each individual separately, you have to be very cohesive. And if there's something that requires improvement, you need to know the right time to address it. Well, that's something which is very important. As an instructor, you have to be cohesive about, because sometimes the students might get discouraged with that. Well, with that, I have come to the end of my presentation. So if you have any questions, you may raise them. Well, I would love to hear your feedback after watching the recording of this presentation. And I would encourage you to suggest the good practices and also to provide me any feedback if you feel that I need to improve on something. So these are the references that I've gone through when preparing my presentation. And thank you very much for being a part of it and being a part of my presentation. Thank you and have a good day.